Hello, I'm Steph.
And I'm Joel.
And welcome to Framed
Canvas Cuffs.
and Other Stuffs.
Season 2, baby.
Woo!
We're back. We're back. Can you believe it?
Bolé-a-doo.
Olé adieu.
Ugh.
Enjoy the episode. Operator, please.
How are you, Joel?
Great. It's a gorgeous day. It's been a gorgeous weekend. It is not too hot, not too cold, and I am just loving it. I'm loving Melbourne right now.
Not often we get nice weather in Melbourne.
No, I know.
So
Sorry to start talking about the weather. How boring.
it's like, well, and that's our final episode.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten onto the weather now.
And now Joel with the weather.
You'd be a good weatherman.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
We had so many good chats
I know,
before we started.
Now it's just like,
so
the good
the
day.
measles is going around.
Got your shot yet for the flu? Flu season's rolling in.
The measles are going around. I've heard that there's like measles floating about.
No one's getting vaccinated anymore.
No. Didn't we get vaccinated for measles though when we were like kids?
Yeah,
and
we
that's
pretty
like
much-
your one and done.
Yeah, it's pretty much you eradicated. We eradicated measles because of the vaccine, and then people became anti-vaxxers, and now they're like getting measles again. So it could have not existed.
The whole anti-vax thing. So yesterday.
Like
So yesterday. Everyone
Oh,
was so up in arms.
everyone's put that on a TikTok, and people will be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
no." What are you recommending to the people this week, Joel?
Oh, I had two, and I don't know which one to do.
You could double down.
No, because then I won't have one for the next one. So, this is annoying because by the time this comes out, the show that I saw is probably gone.
Oh well.
But I'll talk it up anyway because it's probably going to another city or something like that.
Yeah.
On Thursday night this week, Lockie and I went and saw a Jesus Christ, a Superstar.
Oh, is Ruben K in that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. So I knew nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard the name Jesus Christ Superstar.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was kind of like funky take on the Jesus story, but that was all I kind of knew.
Yeah.
So I went in pretty much blind. My God, from start to finish, the vocals
Yeah.
are they're the best. The cast were the best live vocals I think I've ever seen or heard ever in my life.
Oh, that's pretty high praise.
The guy who played Jesus, wish I could remember his name. He had a voice that sounded so much like Johnny Farnham.
Oh, really?
Like you'd shut your eyes and you think you were seeing a young John Farnham. Huh. And so I leaned over to Lockie and I was just like, he sounds like John Farnham. And Lockie's like, yeah, John Farnham actually played this role years and years and years ago. When when it first came to Australia or like just years ago.
Yeah.
And Kate Sobrano was Mary Magdalene. And so this new one has this young bloke as Jesus and Mahalia Barnes as Mary Magdalene.
Oh,
Jimmy Barnes'
yeah.
daughter. She was incredible.
Yep.
And the young guy who plays Judas.
Yeah. Judas.
Beautiful Judas. I'm like, when are they going to get to that song? His voice had so much like personality and he was real sassy and
Yeah.
oh my God, they were just hitting so many. Every single singer in the show who had a number was everyone's jaw was on the floor. Jesus did a solo after intermission, like it's his comeback after intermission big song.
Yeah.
Standing ovation straight after it, like halfway through the show.
Wow.
He got a standing ovation. They had to he had to pause in place for like 5 minutes.
Just like
we couldn't stop cheering.
It literally brought you up on your feet.
Chills, absolute chills.
Wow.
It was so good. So I think it started in the 70s.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar. So it's the tale of Jesus' story, whatever, which I found out I didn't know much about other than the whole crucifixion thing.
Yeah.
and it's done in like kind of like a rock and roll-y
Yeah.
kind of way. So it was this big like industrial kind of factory looking set, kind of like Brutalist. There's a big like steel cross on the stage.
Ooh.
And they're all in like obviously cancelled, but like Yeezy looking tracksuits, like very like just grey sweats and stuff like that.
Very modern.
Yeah. And it was a quick play. Like it didn't drag on.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it was fantastic.
That's so good. Okay.
So the Who's Who was there. Rhonda was there, of course.
Rhonda's always around.
Yeah, Australia's legs. Rhonda Birchmore.
Just, hi everyone.
Jimmy Barnes was there.
Because were you on opening night in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Ew.
Jimmy Barnes was there. Who else did I see? Who else did I rub shoulders with? Michaela Bannis.
Oh.
I think that's her name, from McLeod's Daughters. She was there.
Wow.
Petty Fleur of Real Housewives of Melbourne
We
fame.
love a bit of
Alan
Petty
Rascal, our cheeky news reporter.
You really saw the who's who of Melbourne.
I really saw the who's who. So Lockie goes to these things and he sees them all the time, but I go to these things and I'm like, because I'm a free-to-air TV girl.
Yeah.
So I'm in my Australian low-key celebrity heaven.
Yeah. And you're just like, look over there. What's Rhonda doing?
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Aw.
It was great. Highly recommend. If it's moved on from Melbourne and it's playing somewhere else in Australia near you,
Go and see it.
it is worth the ticket price.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I
So good.
love. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Very good.
Jesus Christ. How about you?
I went to the Yayoi Kusama exhibition a second time on Friday. So I'd been once before and then I went with my parents again.
Oh, yeah.
And it just was great. The NGV really puts on a show these days.
I haven't been yet. I'm a bad art podcaster.
It's finishing at the end of April.
I need to go.
You need to go.
I need to see the pumpkins.
And you need to see those pumpkins. My recommendation, do not go on a weekend,
No,
which is
no.
impossible, but the lines to the little infinity rooms would be a bit long. But we went on a Friday morning. There were school kids around, but it wasn't as it was still busy, but you've got to pre-book your ticket. That's my advice. You can't just go in on the day.
I'm going to have to go on a weekend, which is going to be annoying, but I'll...
First thing on a Sunday, if you can get...
Yes.
Because that's usually, no one wants to go 10 o'clock on a Sunday, but usually that's our ticket.
Babies will be there. Parents with babies, I think. They're always up early.
They're always up looking for something to do. I thought it was great. It looks amazing. They've put so much effort into not only like the art, but how they've set it up. And I think just like the NGV, we're so lucky to have like something that really puts a lot of effort into not just putting art on a wall, but like how the thing flows.
I love it when the NGV does an exhibition with heaps of creative direction and they really make it about that. I think the MC Escher one was one of the best ones that I went to.
Bad podcast, I didn't see that one.
But then I have been to We Love You NGV, but I have been to ones that have been a bit more lackluster in like the set out and the Chanel exhibition.
Yeah.
But then every now and again they just like knock it out of the park with how it's all set out, and I'm glad that they did that for I
feel like they always, especially for now when they've got the gala, which still waiting on that invite, NGV, if you want to pop it in the mail anytime.
Yeah, forget what I said about the Chanel exhibition. That was fabulous.
But every time they do like their end of year one that goes into the following year, it's always, I think they're starting to really put a lot more emphasis on that exhibition. And then the ones during the year, they kind of like they still put effort in, but it's a bit, that last one of the year where they roll in is always going to be, I think, their prized possession.
Yeah.
So I will be so interested to see what they do next, because Yayoi is such a famous female artist with a lot of pop culture around her.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and she was around when, you know, Warhol and stuff was in New York. They did kind of brush over her mental health journey a bit. So they talk about...
But that might be her choice, because doesn't she
she's pretty open.
Put it all together?
But she's pretty open about how she has self-checked in since like the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. She's checked into an institution. All of her stuff's pretty much in psychosis. Like a lot of her art. There's only
a lot
one
of great art is.
Yes. There's only one room that really references her being like, I was in a full psychosis of like looking at a tablecloth and looking at the walls and there was flowers everywhere and you're like, oy. I don't think it would have been necessarily her choice.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But I think I get it. Like, it's not something you really want to think too much about. But yeah, it's a fab exhibition. If it's still on when this is released, please go and see it. But yeah, it's fab and a lot of cool infinity rooms and pumpkins. And if you think it looks like a penis or sperm, yes, it's a penis. It's meant to.
It's meant to.
Her art is very like sexual, really.
Cheeky
girl. There is one video in the exhibition which SJ and I, when we went, we stopped and like laughed at it. She's not a Lola. She's
grow up, Steph.
I know. Just penises everywhere. No, it's like her running around a forest with a piece of string, like running around like these trees. And SJ goes, this is you. This is what you will turn into. Yeah, pretty much. It's like she's in a big coat and a big hat, just being like,
yeah.
It's just like, it is you.
You trying to keep up with your Sevens orders. You just completely lose your mind and just run into the forest.
Just with this ribbon being like, film it, it's art.
In a 90.
Yeah. Wuthering Heights playing in the background.
If someone told me that, I'd just be like, I'll just let her be.
Yeah, she's fine.
She'll be right.
Okay.
She'll come back. She'll want a cigarette or something soon.
We'll pick her up in the next one. She's all good. Don't worry about her. So yeah, it was great.
Oh, fantastic. I will have to go see it before it leaves.
All right, Joel.
Yes, I really are. I'm keen to learn.
Keen to learn.
Yes.
Class is in session.
Yeah. Dry little sponge over here, ready to be watered.
All righty, Joel. It's a cold December morning in 1926. The police officers are standing at the edge of a chalk. I don't know why it says. Okay, the police.
Off to a great start.
Well, sorry. It just says like, I don't know why they call it a chalk pit, and I wrote it down and I was like,
pit.
So it's like, I think it's it's just a pit, the edge of a little cliffy thing, but it's not quite a cliff.
Okay.
But they called it a chalk pit, and I wrote it down and I went, change that later. Obviously didn't. So let's start again.
Okay.
And police officers are standing at the edge of a pit in Surrey, England, staring at an abandoned car.
You're right.
The headlights are still faintly warm. The driver's door is flung open like someone left in a hurry, maybe even in fear, but there's no one inside. Just a fur coat draped on the back of a seat, a small suitcase, and a driver's license tucked into a handbag.
Ooh, this is so noir sounding.
I know, especially in 1926.
Yeah.
There's no sign of blood, no signs of a struggle. The car is perched just meters from a drop, like it was driven to the edge and then stopped. Or maybe it wasn't meant to stop. But the officers open the license and there, printed in neat black letters, is a name that sends a chill down their spines. The name? Agatha Christie.
Ooh.
This is a story about the 10 missing days of Agatha Christie, which was stranger than one of her mystery novels.
Oh, I had no idea.
So, Joel, what do you know about Dame Agatha Christie?
Agatha Christie, mystery crime novelist.
Yep, she is one of the most, I guess, prolific is the word I want to use. Crime whodunit writers of like all time.
She did the Orient Express and
she did, yep, Death on the Nile.
Oh, I love that. Look, I haven't read her books. Love the movies, and I know some people don't like the movies that much because they're very glossy, very Hollywood.
Yeah.
But my God, they're
fun to watch.
They're really good.
You know, she does Miss Marple. She did Poirot.
Yes.
So all of those like TV shows that are just kind of like a nice little whodunit murder mystery.
The latest Poirot that I saw, Tina Fey's actually in it.
It's like they're in a Venice, something, Death in Venice?
Yeah.
Something about Venice,
like
Death in Venice.
It was something to do with ghosts. Like it was more of a supernatural one.
Yes, I loved that.
Yeah,
and
so
also
did I.
liked Tina Fey in it.
I like Tina Fey doing like a different character.
Not Liz Lemon.
Yeah.
So, this is a little bit about Agatha Christie. And, she went missing for 10 days.
A Haunting in Venice
That's it.
Sorry. I was just like, it's not
Death in Venice. Yeah.
So it was Death on the Nile.
Yes. She can't be putting death in every title.
With enough champagne to fill the Nile. Have you seen Gal Gadot act in that?
Yeah, I have. She.
That could be a whole episode about Gal Gadot.
Imagine all the like, guys.
So cringy.
We're in a pandemic. We don't need this.
No.
Anyway. So yeah, this is a vanishing act that turns into a little bit of a mystery. But let's talk a little bit about the woman at the heart of it all. She has been writing since she was 18. She started writing like short stories and things like that. But she was raised in a middle-class Victorian household, and really weirdly, her mother didn't want to teach her how to read or write until she was at least 8, which is just a strange...
Couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, get over it.
I'll get to it.
You know what? You don't need to read and write. You're a lady. You're a girl. Because it's almost like because of that, Agatha was like, no, I'm going to learn how to read and write. So she started to steal books from like the library in her home at the age of 5. And
you know what? That's kind of genius. Tell your kids they're not allowed to, because kids will do the opposite of what you always tell them.
So she's like, don't read and write.
So I'm going to be like, mathematics is banned in our house. And then,
I must be a genius.
And then my kid will have to go and sneak away to do maths.
You know what? Perfect parenting.
Perfect parenting.
No flaws in that at all. So she started to teach herself how to read and write, and at the age of 18, she was writing short stories and submitting them to
What is wrong with us today? Uh-oh.
Magazines.
Kids.
Cool. So she started writing short stories and submitting them to magazines under pseudonyms. One of the pseudonyms apparently she used was Mac Miller, which is interesting.
Wasn't he that rapper? I think he died.
I think he did die.
He was with Ariana Grande for a bit.
Yeah. And I was like, did he take that name because of her, or is it this just a weird coincidence?
Maybe.
Look, who knows. Also, like, she used the name Sydney West, so a lot of male names, because heaven forbid a woman can read and write at that time.
Mac Miller, Sydney West. They do have that, like
1920s, like yeah, very much so.
Paperboy.
Or everyone's smoking.
She had such a cool name though.
Yeah.
She could have just gone. I mean, a lot of authors do use,
especially women at the time. So over the next few years, she still wrote, but was kind of just socializing, because she was essentially trying to find a husband at that time, because she couldn't, heaven forbid, she be a spinster or single. And she spends the next few years like because she's from a middle class, upper class family. She's like riding horses, hunting, going to parties. She also volunteered as a nurse for a bit in the local hospital. And then fast forward to 1914, sorry, so we're not quite in the 20s yet. Fast forward to 1914, she marries Archibald Christie. So a charming, athletic ex-military man with very sharp cheekbones and a questionable long-term potential of being a husband.
Ooh, the cheekbones are getting me.
The cheekbones, yeah. Very handsome.
Archibald Christie.
Yeah.
Such a cool name.
So he was...
Archie.
Yeah, and he was a pilot, so very suave, sexy man.
Oh, good on you, Agatha. What a catch.
What a catch. They have a daughter together, Rosalind.
I love all the names.
Yeah. And then she started to get back into writing again, because she's back at home. She's got some time on her hands. And then she kind of, while she was doing all these stories, none of them were that whodunit that we know her for. They were all kind of just like people falling in love, or, you know, it wasn't, no mysteries yet.
Yeah, right.
But then it's kind of like her jumping into this mystery writing could have easily never happened, but her sister dared her to write a mystery novel and was like, oh, you could never do again with this. You could never. So she's like, you could never write this. Like, I dare you to write a proper detective novel. She's like, well, wouldn't you have it? I'll do it. She's
Such
really
a weird dare.
Yeah, like you could never.
I dare you.
You know what, Agatha? I dare you to do something different.
Yeah.
Write a mystery novel. I think at the time there was kind of a surge.
Maybe it was illegal for women to write mystery novels at the time.
They're like, you're not smart enough for
Yeah.
this. Dumb
So instead of
lady.
like smoking and stuff like that, they were like, let's write a mystery novel.
Let's do it, girl.
Let's do it. Oh my God, you're so bad, Agatha.
Agatha, how dare you? So she started to write, and her first mystery novel was called The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which introduced the world to Poirot. So the first mystery novel she wrote had Poirot in it, which is such a hard name to say, who was a Belgian detective with an egg-shaped head, a fancy mustache, and a love for solving crimes over tea.
Yes.
And it wasn't smooth sailing. It's not like she wrote this book, she immediately got a publisher, and it was all happy sailing from there.
Yeah.
She got rejected many times, as is the story with most people. She kept kind of writing, and she finally got someone to say, yep, we'll publish this book, and then also we'll sign you on for 5 more. And that kind of started this Poirot multi-series kind of event. And in 1926, she wrote the book Murder of Roger Ackroyd. And this was the book that kind of got her into the sphere of everyone was like, we've got to get this book.
Yeah.
It's hot off the shelves. So she was
Page Turner. Who done it?
Who done it? People loved it, and this was her like rise to fame very quickly. So she'd been around, but this was her like the book that got her on the map, and so she started to earn a lot more money. So before we jump into the rest of the story, Joel, I'm just going to pause because although Agatha Christie is one of the most famous mystery writers of our time, obviously because she was a sign of her times, there were some changes to some of her books that had been written between 1920 and 76 because,
I can imagine why. We used a lot more colourful language back
Yeah, so she had passages that were reworked or removed as well as characters because obviously today they're found very offensive. So just to point it out, there's a play where a lot of her protagonists come into contact with So whenever a protagonist in her plays come in contact with anyone outside of the UK who is not white, it's they are often referred to as natives, Oriental. One judge was described as having an Indian temper. Which not great. And then also she was quite a bit of a fan of the N-word. So
My palms is literally sweating. Like, no, Agatha, no.
No. So interestingly, we went and saw the Agatha Christie play.
Oh, yeah.
And then there were none.
Yep.
There is a poem in that play and they've changed it to like little soldier boys and it used to be little N-words. And that poem is very heavily featured in that play. So it would have.
Holy smokes. Okay.
So that's been rewritten, which is
Good.
for the best, I think.
I'm glad.
There's obviously stereotypes as well. A lot of these characters that they came into contact with caricatures of anyone, like very stereotypical racist caricatures.
It happened a lot, like the Tintin novels.
Yeah,
even Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, Dr.
as well,
Seuss,
back in the day.
and I think Enid Blyton's been rewritten as well. So
I think I've still got one of the OG Enid Blytons.
yeah, Noddy. There was there's been a lot.
There's a lot,
what?
and
There's
it's
a
all
lot.
around that time.
Yeah. So and it's a product of the time.
Yeah.
The Agatha Christie estate. So the one of the family members who looks after the estate was fully in support of all the rewrites.
Yep.
So that her work can continue to be enjoyed by a modern audience. So I think it's interesting that
Good.
as we kind of go into it, I think it's always important to be like, yes, acknowledge it because we don't want to rewrite history and go,
No.
it didn't ever happen. Like none of this ever happened. It's like, yeah, it happened. Look at what happened. All right, let's rewrite it and rework it so we can still enjoy it today.
Yeah.
So a lot of the screen adaptations, all of that are trying to find a way to bring in more diversity, that kind of thing.
Which they do as well. Yeah.
So just a little, not disclaimer.
Well, good. I'm glad that they were open to adapt it for, more modern
audiences.
audiences.
And as we learn, like in 10 years' time, things we say now will be like,
Oh, absolutely.
It just always changes.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. So jumping back into the mystery, Agatha and Archie had just moved into a really big, grand old estate in Berkshire after getting a little bit of money. It's very typical England-timey.
Love to go to the Christie estate.
And just look and be like, fabulous. And there's like a little writing
With
desk.
a group of like 12 or 13 on a really stormy night.
Yes, and then
And
one
then
of
the
them
power cuts out and then it comes back on with the generator and someone's been murdered.
and there's a scream in the background. Oh! Old-timey record player. I'm just going to put this on. Scratching of the needle. Yes.
I want to be in one of those scenarios.
Yes. It was interesting because they moved into this home and it was known around town and with the locals that the home was cursed.
Classic.
So anyone who moved in either had romantic disasters, money problems, really bad vibes in this home, haunted, who knows. She's a mystery writer.
It's up her alley.
Yeah, she's into it. You know what? She probably chose it because of it.
Yeah.
She's rich, she's famous, she's living in a mansion. What could go wrong?
She's living life on Dutch.
She's just in the background. In the tail end of 1926, while Agatha is celebrating some of her biggest professional success, unfortunately behind the scenes her life is starting to unravel a little bit.
Oh, it's the house.
It's the house that's taking its next victim. So earlier that year, Agatha's mother had passed away and apparently they were really, really close. So that was really, really sad. Her grief was really bad and she'd been working on a book called The Mystery of the Blue Train. But because of her mother's death, she started to get really bad writer's block and she'd never had that before. So she was starting to get depressed and also she had writer's block, which didn't help. So she was spiraling. Then while she's in full-blown grief over her mother, her husband Archie, who was like such a dashing young man, started slipping away.
Oh, Archie, no. Archie and your cheekbones.
Yes, he actually was started to have an affair with a woman named Nancy Neal, who was a family friend 10 years younger.
Ooh.
So apparently very beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Just started to have a little cheeky woman on the side. So by December, things had reached a breaking point and Agatha was pretty exhausted emotionally.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like everything was coming to a head and everyone's like, the house is taking its next victim. And then on the night of December 3rd, after tucking her 7-year-old daughter Rosalind into bed, she quietly slipped out of the house. There was no goodbye, no tearful exit. She just kind of grabbed a suitcase, grabbed her fur coat, grabbed her keys, and drove off into the night.
Oh, where are you going? Go. Where do you think you're going?
She puts on her pink hat.
Oh, Agatha.
I know. So the next morning, her car was discovered in Surrey, not far from where we kind of started this, in the chalk pit.
Yeah.
And it was in a really strange position. It was halfway down to like this grassy embankment and it's almost looked like it'd been like pushed or rolled off the road. It was almost like it had been on a like crash and then like swerved and slid. Someone put the brake on and then that was it. So they found her coat and her bag in there, but no sign of her at all. It's not like she'd been like just down the road walking. Yeah. There was no footprints. It was very, very strange. Because it was Agatha Christie, it became a real media sensation because she was famous.
Yeah.
So it hit the press and everyone's like, where is she? Where's she gone? What's going on here?
The author became the story.
I know. Once the world kind of got it into like the headlines, like front pages were saying like Queen of Crime missing. Like it's such a salacious so many cops picked up this case and everyone's trying to find.
It's a hot case.
It's a hot case.
Hot case.
Hot case. 1920s hot case.
Yeah.
There was a flicker of hope. Within the first 3 days after she'd disappeared, her brother-in-law received a letter, and apparently it was Agatha saying, "Don't worry about me, just at a spa having a little rest." Mm-hmm. So the police were like, "Okay, let's call off the search." Another police officer went and reread the letter and said, "This doesn't sound like Agatha Christie at all.
No.
This sounds like a fake letter." So then they were like, "All right, we're back on. We're back to finding her." It was
You'd never not be still on the case. Her car was off the road with the thing. Like, just because she wrote a letter saying she was at a spa,
Yeah.
you won't be like, "Oh, well, that explains everything."
Yeah. No worries.
Maybe she walked there coatless.
Yeah, like very strange. It was it's very specific in all of the documents. All of the articles that I read, they were like, yeah, they called it off and then called it immediately back on. It was,
remind me never to go missing in the 1920s.
you know what? I'll let them know.
Yes.
A week went by. Hundreds of calls came in of sightings of her across country, but she was not found at all. The police put out a report and they were like, well, maybe she's in London disguised as a man. Keep your eyes peeled. They put out, let me show you. It's so funny.
Where did the disguised as a man come from?
Honestly, I don't know. They put out a picture of what she could look like dressed as a man. So I'll let you flick through. This is Agatha in her older age.
Mm.
So if you flick through, that's her just being a cutie at a writing desk.
She kind of looks like Piers Morgan.
Yeah, she aged a certain way. That's for sure.
No, she looks lovely. She looks like a lovely
That's
older
her
lady.
when around that time when she was a bit younger. I see Nana B and I see it.
Yeah.
I'm just
Bit of you and Agatha. Oh, there's her car. Oh, what a cool car.
I know. So that's her car and this is her
Oh, for God's sake.
in drag. So they said, watch out for this lady. They just kind of put a hat on her or the bob, a very severe Farquad bob. The weird thing about this case is it's like the police said, you know what? We know how to do our jobs. Let's not do it on this case.
Yeah.
So they bring her dog to the crash site. Her dog's not a sniffer hound.
Why are they being weird about everything? Why are they doing things so strangely?
I don't know. It's very strange. They bring her dog to the crash site who's not a sniffer dog. And they say
Pomeranian.
Yeah, just like Kenzo.
Yeah.
Bless, but not the smartest.
No.
Not the smartest dog out there. And they say, all right, this dog's going to find her. We'll give the dog a bit of her scent. And off it will go. No, the dog just kind of sat there and was like,
yeah,
kind of like, where's my owner? Like, why have you brought me here? Honestly. So obviously that went nowhere. They also, they started to read her old manuscript or her current manuscripts being like, maybe she's left a clue in her manuscripts. So one of the detectives just sat there and read all her books.
They're acting like, okay, this is Agatha Christie, so let's try and solve this case like we're Poirot.
Yeah.
And do all this weird stuff to try and track her down instead of doing normal police business, like normal things that they would do.
Yeah, like just talking to anyone who knew her.
Anyone who knew, like scoping the area or what. They're doing like weird little Poirot-esque.
Yeah. Don't worry, it gets weirder. They hold a seance.
Of course they do.
They hold a seance. They call on 6 mediums and they hold a seance trying to get in contact with her on the other side. Nope.
That's them assuming she's dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all very strange. They sound like they're having fun with it.
Yeah. I imagine they're running around do-do-do-do-do. Very 1920s noir. The scale of the search was huge because so many people wanted to help. Mm-hmm. So it is reported that 10 to 20,000 people joined this manhunt and did searches, controlled searches of different areas.
Wow.
And there was over 1,000 police officers involved in the case. How? That's so many police officers.
It's a good time to start doing crimes. They're all busy.
They're all busy trying to find Miss Agatha. So it's one of the weirdest, largest searches in British history for a person. Anyway, and they still were doing random shit like seances. Come on, guys. You've got the manpower.
They didn't go this hard when Jack the Ripper was going around.
I know. Why is Agatha the one?
Yeah.
Apparently half the country thought she'd been murdered. They just assumed she'd had met her demise. Then, weirdly, the New York Times reported, which is so weird that it's the New York Times, because it's like widespread news, I guess, at this point. Worldwide news. So
she's famous.
She is very famous. She sent 3 letters after her disappearance, or the day of her disappearance. She sent one to her secretary, one to her husband Archie, and then one to her stepbrother. So the stepbrother one we'd already heard about, but apparently Archie claimed, he's like, I got the letter, I read it, and then I burnt it. Nothing to see here.
What? That's weird.
That's weird. Apparently he was like, don't worry about it. There's nothing in that letter.
I could see him doing that if in the letter it exposed his affair.
Yeah.
And so when she went missing, to cover up any like, I might be responsible for her offing herself.
Yeah.
I might.
Yeah. And like, he was just like, don't worry about it, guys. Nothing's going on. It's like, well, why didn't you let us read it then? Yeah. Very strange. Not sure what was in the secretary's letter, but she was very much like, Agatha would never do something like this. She'd never just... Yeah, she was very certain that she'd never just, like, commit suicide.
I'm picturing all these people as characters in the films.
100%. Yeah. I didn't look it up.
Secretary's Kristen Wiig.
Oh, yeah. I see that. Who's the main police detective?
Ooh, that's a good question. John Goodman?
Ooh.
I'm seeing Cillian Murphy as the husband.
Oh, yeah.
And Agatha is Morgan.
Fab. All right, the casting is set.
Is that who I'm thinking of? Is Piers Morgan the one we don't like?
You know what?
He's got a lot of controversial opinions.
Oh, God. Who doesn't?
It's not good. Joel, shut up, Joel. Just continue.
Kind of all the leads go cold until a banjo player calls in. He had been performing at the Swan Hydro Hotel in Harrogate, and he said, this lady looks somewhat familiar. She's doing a little dance. About 300 kilometres from her home is a oddly familiar woman dancing to Yes, We Have No Bananas.
Yes, we have no bananas.
So he calls the police, and just like that, Agatha Christie is found alive at a spa dancing under a false name.
Oh, she was living her life on Dutch.
At a spa. And also, did the police not check when they got the letter from the
those idiots, because she actually did what she said.
Yeah.
Did they not even be like, oh, maybe we should check that out in case it's for real?
For real.
They're like, oh no, there's clues in this message. If you take the second letter from every blah blah blah. No. Yeah. Oh, the idiots, but good.
Good.
Because it gave her a bit of time to, who was taking care of her 7-year-old that she left at a mansion?
They've got nannies.
Okay.
They've got a nanny. Don't worry. She's okay. Also, she's got a father.
Just off dancing to No Bananas.
She's just 1920s. Howdy, where are you from? Oh, don't even worry about it. After hundreds of false leads, a literal seance, the mystery is cracked by a banjo player. So her husband drives up to get her and says, alrighty, I'm going to come get you. Archie's on his way. He walks in. His wife looks at her, looks at him, blank-faced, and is like, who are you? I don't know who you are. The mystery continues. He is like, okay, no, I'm your husband. And she's like, I have no recollection of who you are. He was like, well, what's your name? And she gives an entirely different name. She had checked into the hotel under the name Mrs. Tressa Neal. Now, if you remember, old Archie boy was having an affair with Nancy Neal,
Oh my God.
Very strange that she used the last name of the mistress.
Did Agatha's brain break?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So according to Archie, she was suffering from what he called the greatest loss of memory. They just talked so funny back then. She had the greatest loss of memory, which was weird because obviously she'd just been through a lot of really harrowing
I
things.
think nervous breakdown, bit of psychosis.
Yeah. So
she went a bit cuckoo bananas.
she did go.
Yes,
we have no bananas. She's like, God, this song really speaks to me, and I don't know why. Yeah. So she checked in under a false name, and she'd actually apparently even placed ads in the paper under the fake name, calling for any family members to come forward to help her because she knew she was like struggling from memory loss. She couldn't remember anything.
Tress Neal.
She said, please, will you help me? So weirdly, it's weird that either she had orchestrated this whole thing or did she actually forget who she was?
Yeah.
So there's kind of a few theories buzzing around at this point over her disappearance. The public obviously wants to weigh in. The first theory is that she had orchestrated the whole thing to boost her fame.
That doesn't seem like her style.
Yeah, so she was already famous at the time as well, and apparently she suffered from stage fright and didn't actually really like the spotlight too much. She was quite content to write her books, publish them, and stay out of the public eye. The second theory was that she was causing havoc and having revenge on her husband. So it suggested that she wanted to publicly shame him and create him as the cheating husband, and the timing of her going missing was quite impeccable because she vanished right when Archie had planned a getaway with his mistress over the weekend. Okay. So people were like, well, she clearly planned it so then he couldn't go away with his mistress, which, yeah, he shouldn't be going away with his mistress. But anyway, so they were like, maybe she did this to potentially screw up his weekend, which is a lot of effort to just...
That's a lot of effort.
To just get someone to be like, no.
Yeah, I don't think that
that's the one.
No.
And then the theory number 3 was literally she lost her mind.
Yeah, that's the one that's dinging for me.
Yeah, so it was apparently like the theory was that she had experienced real memory loss, perhaps triggered by the car accident.
Her mother's death, the grief and the
depression. Apparently she'd also been dealing with insomnia, and was only really getting 2 hours of sleep a night. So I think she was, pretty depressed.
She needed Tress.
And
I reckon she might have had that last name kind of ringing in her head because she'd probably been focusing on this young lady.
Yeah.
So she would have been, rolling around in Agatha's head so much. So when she was trying to think of a name,
that's what came up.
Popped up randomly.
Yeah. And I think, it was probably, she didn't even realize it was almost like her life was on autopilot.
Yeah.
In a very strange way. The public's response was pretty mixed. Some were sympathetic, but, they viewed her as being pushed to the brink and, having personal tragedies. Others were skeptical, thinking it was all a ploy for attention. And the press had a field day and, we love a scandal. So they were just kind of adding to this, fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
And adding to this storyline of her mystery disappearance. So, it was very, very strange. And pretty much after this, the world was pretty desperate for answers, and Agatha did not speak on it at all. So she didn't speak on it she wrote an autobiography, and she did not mention it at all in her autobiography. And then she granted a single interview to the Daily Mail a few years later, attempting to explain the disappearance. She described being in a state of confusion and despair, hinting at memory loss and emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
She said that following the death of her mother and the dissolution of her marriage, she was just kind of in a...
That's what I reckon. There was a snap.
And she ultimately found herself in a daze that led to her kind of journey to this spa.
Yeah. Should have gone there by foot then.
Yeah, she would have.
Yeah, she
was
some wires got a bit zapped
in her brain.
Yeah.
Apparently before the original incident, she had mentioned that she was driving like near a big quarry or something, and she thought like, oh, I could just drive off a cliff right now. And the only reason she didn't was because her daughter was in the car at the time. So this was previous.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Situation.
Right.
So it was kind of like she was so depressed. And
Yeah.
obviously back then no one knew what was going on. So she apparently, this is what they think happened, that when she abandoned her car, in a state of confusion, she ended up getting herself to a train station where she boarded the train to where the spa was, and then checked herself into the hotel kind of just willy-nilly. Like, if we look at it now, what they think happened was she became in what they class as a fugue state. Is it a fugue?
Yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard of that.
So it's a way of protecting yourself inside your mind from reality.
Yeah.
So which you can't tolerate anymore. So literally your brain breaks to help yourself. So in Agatha's case, her mother had died, the pressure of producing her next bestseller, and then also her husband's affair. It became too much. So her brain just went, nope, let's forget about that.
all the stress.
And kind of go on living as someone else.
Yeah.
Also around this time, so a lot of soldiers in World War I had this as well, but we were calling it shell shock at the time.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was kind of like everyone was like, oh, unless you'd been in battle, you couldn't have shell shock. But it's like, well, no, your brain can do it to protect you. It doesn't have to. You can go through other trauma in order for your brain to do it, not just like a literal war.
Yeah.
So they think that that's what happened. But at the time, the interview didn't really help her case, because obviously she did this one interview because she wanted to defend herself because the tabloids had such a field day. At the time, people were kind of just like, oh, yeah, no, that's not really. You're just
mental stuff is either like, look, you're a loon, or like there's no in between.
Put her in the hospital. Yeah. She's crazy. She never spoke of this again. So she only ever did the one interview. She never spoke about it again in her whole career. It was almost like she didn't want to. There was also a theory that she didn't speak about it a lot because when she was going through the divorce with her husband, they think she was worried that she wouldn't get custody of her daughter. Because of her brain.
Yeah.
So
and also she probably can't really remember a lot of, like, if you go through something that traumatic, sometimes your brain like completely blanks it out.
And so when they found her in the spa, she went and took her daughter and they went and lived in London, and she separated from her husband, and she went through like psychiatric, she got a well, we would call it a therapist now, went through psychiatric treatment to regain her memory back because she couldn't remember who she was. She was like,
oh my God.
And it wasn't like that long. It wouldn't have even been a year, I think, before she regained her memories, but she really
still a long time.
Yeah, blocked herself out. And in 1928, she'd officially divorced Archie. In the same year that she divorced him, she actually finished the book that she started before all of this happened.
Oh.
The Mystery of the Blue Train.
Oh, good.
And then she kind of got back to work in a big way. By 1930, she remarried to a man named Max Mallowan. And he was really supportive. He was really involved in her life.
Good. Good for Agatha.
Yeah, and he was apparently just a really great husband.
So she continued to write again.
From there, she wrote 2 to 3 books a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so
is this all like Orient Express and all that kind of stuff might have been like pre or after? Yeah, right.
So she'd written a couple of books, but then she started to write more after this whole incident. wrote 2 to 3 books a year, which is a lot of books.
That's a lot of books.
There's a lot of mysteries to make up.
I think like a lot of them might have kind of similar formulas, and if a lot of them have this like character that's going through all of them, like Poirot, you've already got your base character there.
You can just kind of churn them out.
Throw them into different scenarios.
Yeah. So despite the missing days, her legacy only grew. She wrote 60 novels and countless short stories. Obviously did Poirot and Miss Marple, which got turned into TV shows that lasted for years and years and years and years. And also her play, The Mousetrap, was the longest running play in history.
I've heard about The Mousetrap.
So The Mousetrap is in London and it debuted in 1952 and it had been running since then until 2020 when it shut for COVID.
Wow.
So it would have continued running if COVID had not happened.
Yeah, wow.
So
it'll come back.
Yeah, so it's actually already, as soon as it was able to reopen, they reopened it, and it's the longest running play in history.
Wow.
Yeah. She's still a bestseller. She's one of the best-selling novelists of all time. She's sold over 1 billion books, and a lot of them have been translated. And despite her success, we actually really don't know what happened in those lost days. By the sounds,
it's none of our business.
You know what? We don't need to.
None of our business.
Cut the episode.
Yeah, when you talk about fugue state, it makes me think of like certain people who might be in the celebrity industry who have had these like brain break moments because of the amount of pressure and stress.
It would be crazy.
You think of the Britneys.
Yeah.
You think of the Lindsay
Lohans, the Paris Hiltons.
Lindsay moved, oh God, somewhere overseas, started talking in a different accent.
Oh, yeah.
All that kind of stuff. It's like something
triggers it.
And you don't hear about it as much with men. It's often the stories you hear. Well, I guess the women celebrities do get critiqued a lot more than men celebrities.
And men are probably doing it, but it's all kind of like, oh, he's fine. Like, whereas women are like, she's crazy.
Even to some extent, the apple cider vinegar girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like the brain just short circuits, and
because there's so much going on in it that it's just like, you know what, I'm turning off for a bit.
Yeah, and you're really like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I guess
It must be so hard to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the story.
Without all that happening, she wouldn't have had her second chapter of her life. So it's almost bittersweet. It's all of that bad stuff kind of had to happen so she could continue and, you know, find her spark again and find like a bit of creativity and find a new husband who treats her well and all this kind of stuff. So
in the end, she did all right.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't need to know about those 11 days.
No.
God, she just probably
went away for a bit and danced to We Have No Bananas.
She could not stop dancing. Every night she requested that song.
Love that song.
Yeah, she just needed a little rest and then she came back and she was fine. Yeah. But it is strange. I wonder, like, it's probably happening to celebrities these days. It's just we don't know.
Absolutely.
Like, it was just so happened to be the 1920s. People were interested. Yeah. She was famous. It's, you know, the one story.
There was so much going on.
Yeah. So
the husband, her mum dying, the creative block, all of this kind of stuff. The pressure she would have had to release these books.
And then she wrote 60. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's not.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a spring clean for her brains.
For her brains. She needed to dust out the cobwebs.
Oh, that was fascinating. And that's really made me want to go watch some Agatha
Christie. Maybe you'll watch it this afternoon.
Yeah, there's one that I haven't seen. Oh, I'll have to look.
Murder on the Orient Express.
I've seen Murder. I've seen Death on the Nile, and I've seen.
I think they're the three.
I think they're the three. Haunting in Venice. I might watch that one again. I did like that one a lot.
Spooky. Okay.
Yeah,
I like it. But yeah, that's the story, Joel.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
That was really, really fascinating.
Bit of a fun one. Yeah. Who would have thought Agatha Christie has her own little mystery?
She does.
And Is that made into a movie? If not, someone should make it into a movie.
They definitely should.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
You could add a bit of extra spice in there, I think, as well.
100%. You'd have to.
But you'd also have to include, yes, we have no bananas.
Yes, we have
no bananas.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. You can find us on all the things.
Yeah. We hope you're enjoying this season so far.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
We don't really know when we're going to wrap up this season. We're just going to
keep going
until we need a break.
Until our brains break. And then we'll
go to a spa.
We'll go to a spa, but we'll turn up in 10 days.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.